President Trump cruises to victory with a record-breaking Republican turnout.
Trump got more total votes than Obama got as an incumbent.
Republican turnout operation in Texas is extraordinary.
Complete domination.
Receiving more primary votes than any sitting president.
We're winning. We're winning all over.
We had record turnout for an incumbent president.
The Republican Party has never been unified like it is now.
Turnout was also huge for Donald Trump.
President Trump celebrating a record-breaking victory.
It's not even a party, it's a movement.
More than President Obama had by a wide margin.
Let's realize how good Donald Trump's political operation is.
To all Americans tonight, I'm with you, the American people. I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. And we are going to keep America great.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to American Heroes. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign. You know, one of my favorite things about my job is going to the Trump rallies, talking to everyday Americans, men and women who love this president, support this movement, and hearing their stories and just listening to what they have to say. This is an effort to do just that and to highlight our American heroes who are on the front lines. We're going to talk to doctors. We're going to talk to essential workers. We're going to talk to the people that are making this economy work at this time and the doctors who are out there fighting to keep this country safe and healthy. I'm very excited to introduce our first guest, Dr. Nina Ratcliffe. She's an anesthesiologist who has treated coronavirus patients. She's seen this firsthand. Dr. Nina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. You know, you are really a hero. I sit here and I think about you guys and my neighborhood when I go for walks and social distance while I do so. I see signs outside that say, thank you to our healthcare workers. And I'm so glad to see that support because you guys are courageous. You're coming up against a virus that a lot of us fear. And, you know, my first question for you is, you're someone who's always out on TV, but in addition to being out on TV, you're actually in the hospital. You are treating this virus firsthand. What are you seeing as you go about your job?
Well, I'm on the front lines, and because of that, I bear witness that we are seeing the sickest of the sick. Most of the people who do come down with COVID-19, they're able to get better at home. And even 1 in 4 people don't even have symptoms. So the people who are coming to us in the hospital are very ill. But I also want to point out that while this is very difficult, we are seeing people die, we are also seeing success stories where the people that we have taken care of are being discharged from the hospital, or that breathing tube that we put in that patient and hooked them up to a breathing machine, we've been able to take it out and we created a lifeline for that patient and we were able to save them.
That's incredible. I'm so glad to hear that you're seeing some of those success stories. It's so important to give that optimism to people who are watching this. And, you know, tell me what your day-to-day is like. What kind of precautions are you taking? I saw a picture of you in what to me resembled a spacesuit. It's called a respirator. Explain to me what precautions you guys are taking.
Well, we know that we can get COVID-19 from our eyes, nose, and our mouth. So it's very important when we're interfacing with people who have COVID-19 that we protect those areas. And we also want to not just protect ourselves, but we want to protect our other patients that we're taking care of. So somebody that we may have to take care of that's having a heart attack or that has cancer, we need to perform necessary surgery. That's the last thing we want to do is to transmit that. So there's various different protective equipment that we're using. I use goggles, I use a mask over my goggles, and I use a respirator. And in addition to that, I use a spacesuit. I'm gowned from head to toe to make sure that I can stay safe.
That's great. I'm glad you're taking those precautions. You know, one thing that I learned is that you are a person of faith and you would pray with your fellow doctors before work, oftentimes prior to COVID-19 hitting. Now that prayer group, if you will, or that time of prayer has had to change a little bit. What are you and your doctors doing now?
Well, we are doing it virtually, like kind of how we're doing this right now. So we would always, in the morning time, we would meet, we'd hold hands, and we'd pray that, Lord, please guide our minds, our hearts, and our hands so we can provide healing to our patients, that we can get those who are sick better, and the ones who are passing away, that we at least play a role in their life. And everyone says their individual prayers. We pray for the staff. We pray for, and now today we're praying just not for the staff, we're also praying for our president, that he's able to make the decisions that our nation needs so that he can continue the necessary supplies that we need and to support those on the front lines. And not just the healthcare workers, but everybody else that's involved in the healthcare system, from the janitors. I can't go to work if my janitors aren't there. I can't go to work if the hospital assistants aren't there. So thank you to everybody who's part of that, and everybody else, including the grocery store workers that allow me to live my life so I can come into work.
Yeah, that's beautiful that you take the time to highlight faith. You know, you're there in those critical moments. Sometimes it's the end of life, and you're there, and you might be that last person alongside family members that that patient sees. You're there during the hard times, and letting your faith guide you is a really beautiful thing. And you're right. Thank you to the janitors and all those people that we don't always think about that are also our heroes in this. And, you know, you mentioned President Trump and the measures he's taking. What do you make of President Trump's COVID-19 response from a medical perspective?
Well, he's the commander in chief, and it's his job to coordinate between the military, the healthcare, businesses, and the public. And his job is also to provide hope for the American people. And I believe he's done that. He's keeping us up to date every single day, and he's taken the advice of professionals like Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, and we appreciate that. He shows this tremendous respect for the healthcare workers and those on the front lines. And he also has asked people to do what they need to do, the public. And I'd like to reiterate his message for those who don't understand. I'm seeing the sickest of the sick. It doesn't have to be that way. If we follow the coronavirus task force guidelines, you can prevent yourself from getting ill. So it's very important, while we're being told social distancing, we don't know, we've never had to do this before, so it's completely new. And we understand that we're expecting the public to understand infectious diseases, public health, and epidemiology within a matter of weeks, where most people have trained for years. But it is important, and we all have a role to play in this. And that's our patriotic duty. And as Americans, we will get through this. Our strength is being tested, our faith is being tested, but we are one nation under God, and we will get through this. So everybody has a role.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Dr. Radcliffe, you know, last question for you. What motivates you to keep going? You have a family, you have loved ones, but you're really putting your life on the line, coming face to face with this disease and taking the risk of getting sick. You know, what motivates you to keep going?
Well, I have a deep faith in God, and I know that I was meant to do what I do before I was even born. This is my calling, and it is a privilege to be able to take care of people who are sick and vulnerable and to get them back into health. And again, some people may not make it, whether it's COVID-19 and other aspects of life, that I played a role in this. So it is a privilege, and I know that I stand with millions of other healthcare workers who have tremendous faith, who understand that there's a power of healing. And it's a very special privilege to be able to take care of patients. And on my own, I take care of myself in terms of making sure I follow the guidelines just as much. I have older parents who live with me, and I have a young daughter, and I'm a single mother. So these are very important that I keep myself healthy and I keep them healthy. And I'm following the coronavirus task force guidelines. No one is immune.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, thank you so much for being on the front lines. We appreciate you so much. America appreciates you, Dr. Nina Ratcliffe. When we come back, you will meet Joe Long and Karen Long. Joe Long is working on a pipeline right now. His wife is working at Lowe's. They're great Americans, and I can't wait for you to meet them. Stay tuned to American Heroes.
Trump to 88022. Text Trump to 88022.
Joining me now is Joe Long. He's an operating engineer working on a pipeline in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and his wife, Karen, who is working at Lowe's currently. Thank you so much for joining me, Joe and Karen.
No problem.
Thank you.
Joe, yeah, it's great to have you. Joe, I'm going to start with you. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm working at home. I'm essentially quarantined with my husband and my 4-month-old, but you are out there working on the front line, keeping this economy running. How does it feel to be an essential worker?
Feels just like any other day. We're just going through the same routine and just taking a couple little more precautions. That's all. I don't consider myself a hero or anything. I just doing what we got to do.
Well, America does, and America appreciates you, Joe. And you asked me specifically to give you an opportunity to tell me about your friend Dave. Tell our viewers about Dave.
The other morning I was riding to work, thinking about everything that's going on. And so I called my friend Dave, and he's had cancer and heart surgery in the last year, and he has diabetes. And I asked him, I said, Dave, you still working? He said, yeah. And I said, well, why don't you take since, what's all going on, play it safe, quarantine yourself. And he just told me, he said, I sat in my house for 5 years fighting cancer, and I'm not doing it anymore. I'm doing what I do.
Wow.
There's a lot of people out there, a lot of people that I'd say 99% of the people want to be out there and working and doing, but they're essential by just staying home.
Yeah.
And keeping everybody as safe as we can be.
That's so true. There's so many Americans out there that are just keeping this country moving, working hard. We really appreciate everyone who's out there and taking into account social distancing and following the guidelines set by the president. Karen, you're out there working too. You're at Lowe's, and your husband said that you're the one who's around the public more. That for you, you're really out there. So how are you handling this? Karen, are you there?
It's fine. I'm happy to be out there helping people. Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, yep, I gotcha.
Okay. Lowe's is an essential place. People come in constantly to get items that they need. I'm happy to be there to help them. Lowe's is taking all the precautions that are being recommended by the government, by the CDC, constantly washing hands, wearing gloves. We now have shields up between customers and cashiers. They're constantly, cleaning countertops. In fact, we now close at 7 o'clock every night and spend 3 hours cleaning. So I feel, safe there as much as we can be.
Yeah,
Lowe's is very busy right now. There's a lot of people coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad to hear they're taking all those precautions. They make a difference. And, one thing I love, Joe, that you say to your loved ones is, I just had a Trump day. What do you mean by I want to get out there and have a Trump day, however you phrase it?
Well, a friend of mine, Bob Bell, he called me up one day, and he said, oh, I got so much done today. I got all this work done. I had a Trump day, because Trump gets a lot of stuff done every day. And so when we get a lot of production at work or something, we say we have a Trump day. And everybody, when this is all over, everybody needs to have a Trump day. Every day is a Trump day.
Yeah, that's right. So Karen, do you say that to your husband too? I just had a Trump day.
I'm usually exhausted if I have a Trump. We're so busy physically at work. But yeah, he does say that a lot. When we're here at home, we do say that also.
Yeah, I'm going to start saying that. I'm going to have to take that phrase, Joe, and use it myself. This president, he's always hard at work. It's incredible to watch. Joe, what do you think about President Trump's coronavirus response? He's securing direct payments to Americans, small business loans to help them on payroll, and a lot more. What do you make of what he's done?
I think he's going to do whatever he has to do to help the people. And everything he does is in direct response to help people. I mean, and no matter what, he just wants to, make everybody's life easier and keep them working and make sure they have a job when this thing is all over. I think it's awesome. Everything he does is awesome.
Yeah, so true. And Karen, what about you? What do you think of his response?
I think his quick response into shutting down the borders or flights coming in from other countries was probably the best thing that could have happened. he was on that quick, and we need to know, who's coming in and out of the country for just this exact, and then stop it and stop the virus from spreading quicker. I think he did a great job with that.
Yeah, he acted early, took unprecedented action. The experts said it helped to abate the crisis. Notably, Joe Biden called those actions xenophobic. So, and Trump at the helm and not Sleepy Joe. But going on back to another Joe, certainly not Sleepy Joe, Trump Day Joe. Joe Long, you mentioned that one of the reasons you support the president is his right to try legislation and his VA choice changes. You said that they could have helped your parents in their time of need, including your dad, who is a Vietnam veteran. Can you tell our viewers about your parents?
My mom and dad, they both passed away at the age of 49, 50.
Yeah.
And they both had cancer. And when Trump enacted that right to try, I just thought to myself, well, why didn't any other president do this? There was any president could have done this, but it took President Trump to do something like this. And with the veterans, my dad was in the VA hospital in Oakland. And at that time, it was 1993, and it was a wreck. It was paint chipping off the walls. Underneath my dad's bed, there was a big bag of blood. The place was filthy. And, and with this choice, maybe my dad could have went somewhere else rather than, into that hospital where basically they did nothing for him back then. And so, any other president could have done this, could have fixed the VA, and it took President Trump. And I just think he's a man of actions, and it doesn't take a lot to do something if you want to do it. And Trump wants to do it. So.
Yep, absolutely. And I hear from veterans every rally that their life is better off thanks to President Trump. So I'm so glad to see that you recognize that as well. And you also, interestingly, praised the use of hydroxychloroquine and analogized it to the right to try legislation. Tell me about what you meant by that. Hydroxychloroquine, its potential treatment to coronavirus, and it's a no-brainer to try this out.
Yeah, it's a perfect example. If the CDC hasn't approved it yet, but you can ask for it because of Trump's legislation. If you go and you're feeling sick with this, ask for it and you'll get it because it's your right to try that drug. He come up, I don't know, probably a month ago now saying that this stuff is working. It's worked other places. We should try it. And he's getting all kind of heck over it, and when it's your last chance, you do it. I mean, it's just common sense. And that's why he has common sense, not like the rest of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And hydroxychloroquine, notably a drug that treats malaria, already been approved through the FDA for that use. So why not try it now, given that there's been optimism expressed over it? So you're exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Cuomo talks about it, and the mainstream media leaves him alone. But when President Trump mentions it, they freak out. It's really interesting to watch the double standard. But thank you both so much for joining us. You guys are an inspiration. Joe, stay safe. Please, both of you stay safe. Karen, stay safe at Lowe's. We really appreciate you both. Coming up next is Elisa Slider, a small business owner, and Sarge Poltrian, an Iraqi war veteran. Stay tuned.
Text Trump to 88022 to keep America great.
We're back, and I'm joined by Elisa Slider. She's a small business owner. She owns a hay and trucking company out in Nevada, and an Iraqi war veteran, and a Teamster with Local 631 in Nevada. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Sarge, I want to start with you. You work in the convention industry in Las Vegas, which in your words has been, quote, completely shut down. I can imagine, of course, we can't have large gatherings right now. We're not having our Trump rallies. A lot of America is in the same position as you. Perhaps they're in an industry where they can't social distance. But President Trump's providing needed relief, direct payments to Americans, healthcare relief, tax relief. What do you make of President Trump's response to the coronavirus?
Well, overall, I believe it's been spot on. The convention industry is directly related to the economic success of our country, and we've always used that to kind of determine how things are going to go in the past. So as the crisis developed and shows started canceling, it became an immediate concern because we were already talking about work being returned in July and even August. So that was an immediate economic harm for the workers that are concerned. And as far as I'm concerned, the information that the Trump administration provided was spot on and informative and timely. And he addressed every concern that was brought up, within my forum. So I've been very grateful for the timely and informative manner in which the information has been disseminated. Of course, relief funds are not necessarily available, but it provided hope immediately. I'm very grateful for the response that he's provided.
Yeah, absolutely. And those direct payments are going to give American families a lot of money that they need right now, much needed relief. Elisa, you're a small business owner. You're really the lifeblood of this economy is what we think of our small businesses. And President Trump has done a ton for small businesses. Just Friday, the Paycheck Protection Program went into place. It gives loans to small businesses that will be entirely forgiven if they keep workers on payroll. What do you think of what President Trump has done for small businesses?
Honestly, it's been a sense of relief during a time of uncertainty. Knowing that I have a family-owned business, this affects my family members directly. So knowing that I have something to fall back on in a few weeks when things might not be going so well, it's been a huge sense of relief at this time for us.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. And Sarge, in addition to your work, you are an Iraq War veteran. Thank you so much for your service. America appreciates it. And you say that President Trump has helped you personally. How so?
Well, it's an honor to serve this great nation and a privilege. So thank you. Personally, on almost every level, Trump has due to Trump's economy and confidence, I feel like I've actually personally amassed more wealth in the last 3 years in my entire lifetime. And that to me is a specific reflection of the confidence that the American public has economically. As a veteran, the treatment of veterans has been very tough. It seemed like in the previous administrations, under the Obama administration, the attitude was veterans should pay for their own health care. And it seemed like veterans' needs were kind of being put to the side. And under the current administration, I feel like confidence and commitment to the veteran needs has been substantial, and I'm very grateful for that. For me, as far as my veteran benefits have basically been affected by the Forever GI Bill. The Forever GI Bill allows me to use my veteran benefits after I retire from my current civilian employment, which by that time they would have expired, and now they don't expire. So I'm grateful to have those benefits that have been looked at that affect me and all veterans this time. I think the entire veteran process, which has been up for debate for a long time to its service members, is seriously being looked at. And I believe Trump's made a commitment And he's backed his commitment up with action, not just words, which is impressive, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, that's undoubtedly the case. He's passed so much legislation, or rather, I should say, signed legislation that he's led on for our veterans. Elisa, you're a military mom. Your husband is a sergeant major. He's a Marine, and your son is a young U.S. soldier. Thank you again for their service and for your sacrifice as a military mom. You know, our military is still out there. They're still out there protecting our nation. They're on the front lines. They are our heroes right now. Where are your husband and your son right now, and what are they facing?
So currently my husband's in the Marine Corps Reserve, and all drills have been canceled at this point. So he's actually working from home, trying to help his Marines as much as possible. And my son is just graduated from boot camp, and now he's going to IT school, but they're kind of in a standstill position. They're not able to do schooling, so they're all kind of just chomping at the bit, ready to get done with schooling so they can get to their first duty stations. They're ready to have a little more freedom. So they're all just waiting. They're waiting.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, what are your thoughts as a military mom for what President Trump is doing for our military and our veterans?
One thing I could say is that I feel like the morale has totally changed. I feel like they feel like they have a president now who has their back, and that's a big difference. So that makes me happy. It makes me feel good knowing and seeing that with the Marines and with the soldiers as well.
Absolutely. They have a commander-in-chief that truly cares about them. It's evident. And, you know, Sarge, you have so many roles. You're a veteran and in the convention industry, and you're a union member too. And you said you didn't pay much attention to politics until 2016. You came on board for President Trump way back in the primaries. What changed in 2016 to make you pay attention to politics?
Well, the economic and political temperature in our country was a little confusing for me at that time, and I felt like the soul of our country was seriously in question. And I saw a lot of things like that I didn't understand, and I was kind of confused about what was going on. I saw a lot of anti-American rhetoric on television from Americans, burning flags and protests, and it was a little bit confusing time, and I really didn't understand. And you know, law enforcement was being questioned openly and blatantly by the Obama administration. I didn't understand that. I actually am a previous law enforcement officer as well, civilian and military. And I just felt like there was a lot of unsubstantiated claims being made by the news networks that completely falsified information that I witnessed firsthand. And I saw that at an unprecedented level. And I was like, what the heck is going on with our country? So basically, I knew that our country was in some serious trouble. So I started involving myself with the potential candidates, and I listened to Trump. I listened to all the candidates, and Trump, the way he spoke, just rang true for me, and I felt like his intent for what it is as it is to be an American was being represented. So I basically started doing some research, and of course you hear all the negative aspects of a campaign or candidate. And so you start looking at that. So basically what I did is I looked at Trump's family. That was the number one reason why I decided to support Trump, because I looked at what type of family he had and his relationship with his family members. And to me, that's a direct reflection of a man, first and foremost. And of course, I don't think anybody could ultimately dispute his economic success and his business prowess. So to me, that was just an added benefit. And I felt like our economy was down, the morale was down in our country, and I feel like our representation as Americans was being depleted. So at that point, I decided to jump on board with the Trump campaign and used every platform that I had available. One being a union member, which typically is not supportive of a Republican candidate. So I received a lot of negative feedback from my colleagues and friends that I had to deal with and overcome. And so it was an uphill battle. So basically, as I progressed, it seemed like more and more people started to get on board with what Trump was doing. I mean, and what candidates actually go out and do everything they can to complete their campaign promises. And I felt like, especially after he was elected, that, wow, this guy is doing some amazing things and actually trying to do what he says he wanted to do. And to me, that was certainly a big breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
bottom line, I just feel very grateful for the sacrifice that Donald Trump and his family has made for this nation. And I'm on board all the way, so.
I love hearing that. And I love hearing that. And I know union workers across the nation love this president. Thank you, Elisa. Thank you, Sarge. Elisa, I know you're homeschooling your high schooler and your kindergartner. You both are serving your country. I appreciate you both so much. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in to this episode of American Heroes. Please join us next week for another episode.